The history of Mayan civilization is divided into three principal periods: the pre-classic, classic, and post-classic periods. These were preceded by the Archaic period, which saw the first settled villages and early developments in agriculture. Modern scholars regard these periods as arbitrary divisions of chronology of the Mayan civilization rather than indicative of cultural evolution or decadence. Definitions of the start and end dates of period spans can vary by as much as a century, depending on the author. The pre-classic lasted from approximately 3000 BC to approximately 250 AD. This was followed by the classic from 250 AD to roughly 950 AD, then by the post-classic from 950 AD to the middle of the 16th century. Each period is further subdivided. The Maya developed their first civilization in the pre-classic period. Scholars continue to discuss when this era of Maya civilization began. Discoveries of Maya occupation at Cuello, Belize, have been carbon dated to around 2600 BC. Settlements were established around 1800 BC in the Soconusco region of the Pacific coast, and they were already cultivating the staple crops of the Maya diet, including maize, beans, squash, and chili pepper. This period, known as the early pre-classic, was characterized by sedentary communities and the introduction of pottery and fired clay figurines.
During the Middle Pre-Classic period, small villages began to grow to form cities. By 500 BC, these cities possessed large temple structures decorated with stucco masks representing gods. Nakbe, in the Petén department of Guatemala, is the earliest well-documented city in the Maya lowlands, where large structures have been dated to around 750 BC. Nakbe already featured the monumental masonry architecture, sculpted monuments, and causeways that characterized later cities in the Maya lowlands. The northern lowlands of Yucatan were widely settled by the Middle Pre-Classic. By approximately 400 BC, near the end of the Middle Pre-Classic period, early Maya rulers were raising stelae that celebrated their achievements and validated their right to rule. Murals excavated in 2005 have pushed back the origin of Maya writing by several centuries, with the developed script already being used at San Bartolo in Petén by the 3rd century BC, and it is now evident that the Maya participated in the wider development of Mesoamerican writing in the Pre-Classic. In the late Pre-Classic period, the enormous city of El Mirador grew to cover approximately 16 square kilometers, which is 6.2 square miles. It possessed paved avenues, massive triadic pyramid complexes dated to around 150 BC, and stelae and altars that were erected in its plazas. El Mirador is considered to be one of the first capital cities of the Maya civilization. The swamps of the Mirador Basin appear to have been the primary attraction for the first inhabitants of the area, as evidenced by the unusual cluster of large cities around them. The city of Tikal, later to be one of the most important of the Classic period Maya cities, was already a significant city by around 350 BC, although it did not match El Mirador. The late Pre-Classic cultural florescence collapsed in the 1st century AD, and many of the great Maya cities of the epoch were abandoned. The cause of this collapse is as yet unknown. In the highlands, Kamanal-Yuyu emerged as a principal center in the late Pre-Classic, linking the Pacific coastal trade routes with the Motagua River route, as well as demonstrating increased contact with other sites along the Pacific coastal plain. Kamanal-Yuyu was situated at a crossroads and controlled the trade routes westwards to the Gulf Coast, north into the highlands, and along the Pacific coastal plain to the Isthmus of Tehuantepec and El Salvador. This gave it control over the distribution networks for important goods such as jade, obsidian, and cinnabar. Within this extended trade route, Takalik-Abaj and Kamanal-Yuyu appear to have been the two principal foci. The early Maya style of sculpture spread throughout this network. Takalik-Abaj and Chocala were two of the most important cities on the Pacific coastal plain during the late Pre-Classic, and Comchen grew to become an important site in northern Yucatan during the Pre-Classic. The Classic period is largely defined as the period during which the lowland Maya raised dated monuments using the long count calendar. This period marked the peak of large-scale construction and urbanism, the recording of monumental inscriptions, and demonstrated significant intellectual and artistic development, particularly in the southern lowland regions. The Classic period Maya political landscape has been likened to that of Renaissance Italy or Classical Greece, with multiple city-states engaged in a complex network of alliances and enmities.
During the Classic period, the Maya civilization achieved its greatest florescence. The Maya developed an agriculturally intensive, city-centered civilization consisting of numerous independent city-states, some subservient to others. During the early Classic, cities throughout the Maya region were influenced by the great metropolis of Teotihuacan in the distant Valley of Mexico. In AD 378, Teotihuacan decisively intervened at Tikal and other nearby cities, deposed its ruler, and installed a new Teotihuacan-backed dynasty. This intervention was led by Siak Kak, born of fire, who arrived at Tikal on 8.17.1.4.12 by January 31, 378. The king of Tikal, Choktok Ichek I, died on the same day, suggesting a violent takeover. A year later, Siak Kak oversaw the installation of a new king, Yax Nunun Ayin. The new king's father was Spear Thrower Owl, who possessed a Central Mexican name and may have been the king of either Teotihuacan or Kaminal-Jayu. The installation of the new dynasty led to a period of political dominance when Tikal became the most powerful city in the central lowlands. At its height during the late Classic, the Tikal city polity had expanded to have a population of well over 100,000. Tikal's great rival was Calakmul, another powerful city polity in the Petén Basin. Tikal and Calakmul both developed extensive systems of allies and vassals. Lesser cities that entered one of these networks gained prestige from their association with the top-tier city and maintained peaceful relations with other members of the same network. Tikal and Calakmul engaged in the maneuvering of their alliance networks against each other. At various points during the Classic period, one or other of these powers would gain a strategic victory over its great rival, resulting in respective periods of florescence and decline. In 629, Balaj Kayan Ka Kawil, a son of the Tikal king Kinich Muan Jol II, was sent to found a new city 120 kilometers, or 75 miles, to the west at Dos Pilas in the Petexbatun region, apparently as an outpost to extend Tikal's power beyond the reach of Calakmul. The young prince was just 4 years old at the time. With the establishment of the new kingdom, Dos Pilas advertised its origin by adopting the emblem glyph of Tikal as its own. For the next 2 decades, he fought loyally for his brother and overlord at Tikal. In AD 648, King Yuknam Chin II, or Yuknam the Great of Calakmul, attacked and defeated Dos Pilas, capturing Balaj Khan Kawil. At about the same time, the king of Tikal was killed. Yuknam Chin II then reinstated Balaj Khan Kawil upon the throne of Dos Pilas as his vassal. In an extraordinary act of treachery, for someone claiming to be of the Tikal royal family, he thereafter served as a loyal ally of Calakmul, Tikal's sworn enemy. In the southeast, Copan was the most important city. Its Classic period dynasty was founded in 426 by Kinish Yax Kukmo'o. The new king had strong ties with central Petén and Teotihuacan, and it is likely that he was originally from Tikal. Copan reached the height of its cultural and artistic development during the rule of Waxaclayun Uba Kawil, who reigned from 695 to 738. His reign ended catastrophically in April 738 when he was captured by his vassal, King Kaktiliu Chan Yopat of Quirigua. The captured lord of Copan was taken back to Quirigua and, in early May 738, was decapitated in a public ritual. It is likely that this coup was backed by Calakmul in order to weaken a powerful ally of Tikal. Palenque and Yaxchilan were the most powerful cities in the Usumacinta region.
In the highlands, Caminal-Yui in the Valley of Guatemala was already a
Capital cities of Maya kingdoms could vary considerably in size, apparently related to how many vassal cities were tied to the capital. Overlords of city-states that held sway over a greater number of subordinate lords could command greater quantities of tribute in the form of goods and labor. The most notable forms of tribute pictured on Maya ceramics are cacao, textiles, and feathers. The social basis of the classic Maya civilization was an extended political and economic network that reached throughout the Maya area and beyond into the greater Mesoamerican region. The dominant classic period polities were located in the central lowlands. During this period, the southern highlands and northern lowlands can be considered culturally, economically, and politically peripheral to this core area. Those loci that existed between the core and the periphery acted as centers of trade and commerce. The most notable monuments are the pyramid temples and palaces they built in the centers of their greatest cities. At this time, the use of hieroglyphic script on monuments became widespread and left a large body of information including dated dynastic records, alliances, and other interactions between Maya polities. The sculpting of stone stelae spread throughout the Maya area during the classic period, and pairings of sculpted stelae and low circular altars are considered a hallmark of classic Maya civilization. During the classic period, almost every Maya kingdom in the southern lowlands raised stelae in its ceremonial center. The epigrapher David Stewart first proposed that the Maya regarded their stelae as tetun, stone trees, although he later revised his reading to lakamptun, meaning banner stone. According to Stewart, this may refer to the stelae as stone versions of vertical standards that once stood in prominent places in Maya city centers, as depicted in ancient Maya graffiti. The core purpose of a stela was to glorify the king. The Maya civilization participated in long-distance trade, and important trade routes ran from the Motagua River to the Caribbean Sea, then north up the coast to Yucatan. Another route ran from Verapaz along the Pasión River to the trading port at Quenquén. From there, trade routes ran east to Belize, northwards to central and northern Petén, and onwards to the Gulf of Mexico and the west coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. Important elite status trade goods included jade, fine ceramics, and quetzal feathers. More basic trade goods may have included obsidian, salt, and cacao.